About 1,150 kilometers north of Oslo and about 770 kilometers south of Svalbard lies the city of Tromso. Situated at a latitude of 69 degrees and 350 kilometers north of the Arctic Circle, Tromso is a place where the sun never sets during the summer and the northern lights dance across the sky in the winter. As one of the northernmost cities on the planet, Tromso is a somewhat mild window into the rugged beauty and conditions of the Arctic. With a population of 77,544, Tromso is the 12th most populous municipality in Norway, and its population has increased by 12.2% over the previous 10-year period. This is not necessarily normal. Arctic settlements rarely see population growth, let alone at that rate. As such, it is the largest urban area in northern Norway and the third largest north of the Arctic Circle, following the two major Russian industrial cities of Murmansk and Norilsk. The municipality is milder than most settlements on the same latitude due to the effect of the westerlies reaching this far north, as well as the North Atlantic Drift, a branch of the Gulf Stream. So the climate probably isn't exactly what you expect from a place almost 70 degrees north. Its winter temperatures are just cold enough to qualify the area as subarctic, while the precipitation amount and pattern as well as lack of permafrost are not normal for subarctic areas and more typical for oceanic climates. Summers are rather cool, often with large variations from year to year and from month to month, giving a completely different experience, all depending on the weather pattern. The lowest temperature ever recorded was minus 18.4 Celsius in February 1966. That is extremely mild for a location this far north, as it is about the same as the record cold for the state of Florida, some 40 degrees further south, while the highest temperature recorded was 30.2 Celsius in July 1972. This variability is also visible in sun hours. In July 1980, Tromso recorded 430 sun hours, the national record. However, July 1989 only recorded 91. Similarly, Tromso's snowfall pattern is quite erratic. In an average winter, Tromso sees 160 days with at least 25 centimeters of snow on the ground. It is possible to observe the aurora borealis from here. However, as it is always light in the summer, no aurora is visible between late April and mid-August. Additionally, due to the coastal location, Tromso is often subject to cloudy conditions, which obscure the view. Archaeological excavations just outside the city limits have turned up artifacts and remains of buildings estimated to be 9 to 10,000 years old. So the area appears to be inhabited since the end of the Ice Age. More recently, a Norse chieftain named Ohther lived during the 1890s and described himself as one living furthest to the north of all Norwegians, with areas north of Tromso being mostly populated by the Sami. What came to be known as the Pomor trade began in the 11th century. They traded goods such as furs, ivory, and fish in exchange for grain and commodities such as silver, spices, and textiles. Over time, these trade routes expanded and became more organized, connecting the Vikings with the Russian Pomors, who were a group of merchants and fishermen from the Russian coastal regions. The exchange of goods and ideas between the Vikings and Pomors led to the development of new technologies and innovations, such as shipbuilding and navigation. It also led to the spread of Christianity and other religious beliefs, as well as the exchange of artistic styles and cultural traditions. This trade made up an important part of the economy of northern Norway for many centuries. During the 13th century, the distant trading outpost needed to be fortified in order to be protected from raids coming from Karelians and Russians, as Tromso was not just a Norwegian village in an area mainly populated by the Sami, but also a frontier towards Russia. During the next 500 years, Norway's border with Russia and the limits of Norwegian settlement would be pushed eastwards, making Tromso lose its character as a frontier town. Svalbard, which is located about halfway between Norway and the North Pole, was first discovered by the Dutch explorer William Barents in 1596. Over the following centuries, the archipelago became a hub for whaling, fishing and exploration, while Tromso became an important gateway to Svalbard, as it was a convenient location for ships to resupply and make repairs. This led to the establishment of a thriving Arctic merchant community, which played an important role in the development of the region. Similarly, Arctic hunting started up around 1820s, Tromso becoming the main hub for this activity. With all these economic prospects, the city grew and was greatly expanded with schools and education centers. And by the end of the 19th century, explorers like Roald Amundsen, Umberto Nobile and Fridtjof Nansen made use of the know-how in Tromso on the conditions in the Arctic and often recruited their crew in the city during what came to be known as the heroic age of Antarctic exploration. In 1900, Russia was Norway's fourth most important trade partner, but during World War I, Russian export regulations were changed, and fear of German submarine attacks started to limit the Pomor trade. After the Russian Revolution in 1917, the Pomor trade was ceased entirely. This had negative effects on the economy in North Norway, especially for the settlements along the coast. The fishermen no longer had a possibility to sell their summer catch. Still, the occasional Pomor vessel came to Norway, even after the trade was officially terminated. When Germany invaded Norway in 1940, Tromso served briefly as the seat of the Norwegian government. General Carl Gustav Fleischer issued orders for total civilian and military mobilization and declared northern Norway a theater of war. Despite Norwegian willingness to resist, allies withdrew support from Norway, and so the Germans eventually captured the country, although they encountered fierce resistance at the strategically important port of Narvik, from which the Germans proceeded to export Swedish iron ore. Tromso escaped the war unscathed, although the German battleship Tripitz was sunk by RAF bombers off the Tromsø island on the 12th of November 1944, killing close to 1,000 German sailors.
RAF Lancasters roared to the attack, and here is the 45,000-ton pride of the German Navy firing desperately at the air raiders. A 6-ton armor-piercing blockbuster is on its way. The Tirpitz is mortally hit, but replies with everything, including 15-inch guns, in this climactic battle of Tromso Fjord in Norway.
At the end of the war, the city received thousands of refugees from Finnmark and areas which had been devastated by German forces, using scorched earth tactics in expectation of the Red Army offensive. Expansion of the city after World War II has been rapid, along with healthy population growth. The compact city centre has the biggest concentration of historic wooden houses north of Trondheim, and they coexist with modern architecture. The economic prospects for the future existence of the city and its growth are very promising, in large part due to Tromso port, which is ice-free, sheltered from the open sea, accessible from north and south, located on a deep fjord, and strategically placed for the Barents Sea, not to mention access to subarctic oil and gas. We may also speculate about the possibility of trans-Arctic shipping lanes, which will further connect Asia with Europe. Secondary to fishing, the University of Tromso and other educational centers are major economic drivers, bringing both students and education to the local population who are carrying out research. Tourism has also exploded, and I probably don't have to explain why. A truly modern city on the very edge of the civilized world, in an absolutely stunning location, with access to many winter sports activities and a deep history, especially with regards to the Sami, who despite facing challenges and discrimination throughout history have maintained their culture and continue to thrive in Tromso. Today there are many opportunities for visitors to learn about the Sami culture and experience it firsthand. This might include visiting a Sami museum, attending a traditional Sami festival, or participating in a reindeer sledding excursion. Now watch my video on Kiruna next. It's a Swedish mining town which is being relocated. And this is my Patreon map. Everyone here has directly chosen to support my channel, and I'm massively grateful. Thank you so much. Geoperspective out.